Globally, when the leadership is corrupted, it breeds on the masses. And when it breeds on the masses, the people want to live by all means. Corruption starts from people running with a lack of the fear of God in them. When people lack the fear of God, that is, they don't live by the precepts of God, they tend to wanting to create their own mind and achieve their own mind. And for that reason, they go against the order of God. Corruption can only give birth to more corruption. The faith bodies, all of them are failing because the system is corrupted. The people are corrupted. So people enter faith with a corrupt mind. The intention is different from the vision. But documented, the vision is to achieve relief, but the intention is to make money. So when you relate the two, it cannot achieve the purpose. Very few that really go into NGOs, faiths with good mind that I know about. The most celebrated ones, UNICEF, WHO, they're all having presence in Nigeria, in Africa. But I tell you, because the system they have come to work is corrupted. So for that reason, those bodies have not been able to truly achieve their mind. Yes, agreed, they were set up on the purpose of relieving poverty, but because the intermediaries are not pure, intermediaries that are corrupted are not allowing them to deliver the purpose. So they help, rather than reaching out to the targets, are trapped within the workers, are trapped within the agencies. And most of these agencies, in most cases, they work with governments. So working with government means that they cannot really truly reach out to people down there that have the heart to serve the poor. People that are really, really familiar with the needs of the people. Because the people we are relating with, right at the top, are already, majority of them are corrupted. The good ones doesn't even have the privilege of coming up to speak, that the world may know exactly what they're passing through, what is happening down there. For instance, I worked on a program with the WHO, and I was part of a team that went to the northern Nigerian, Kano, Kaduna. You see the WHO men on ground. But you see, most of the people on the team are out to make their money. Having said that, now, when these aids come, again, it is not normally directed towards the basic points of need. Everything starts at the top and ends at the top. And unfortunately, again, when the international media observers come, they come as guests to these same corrupted people, corrupted leaders. So when they come, they don't have access to realities. And since they don't have access to realities, everything are done according to what is written in their papers, in their presentations. And the situation in Nigeria, the realities in Nigeria are far, far different from the documented paper that are presented as such meetings of giving aids, cancellation, and what have you. And that is why it has not worked. So the truth of the matter is that these aids are not getting to those that are desperately in need of them. So they are of no benefit to a common man. And that is why it has remained so, and it looks as if, despite the aids, nothing is happening. And whenever they negotiate it on the terms of those that are there, how it benefits them to do more business. The state of poverty in today's Nigeria has totally crippled the nation Nigeria. A nation where you cannot live uprightly, a nation where you cannot have a case report to the police and you get results. Rather than get the result, you see the police conniving with the accused person. All this happening because of poverty. The cop probably is not being paid well, cannot afford basic things of life, cannot pay the children's school fees. Naturally, we want to turn that office to his own mini money-making industry. So whosoever that bring case to the police, for instance, would probably either make up your mind to stay in your house and not report that case, not report the case and have the money to bribe the police more than the accused person. Because by the time the accused person comes in and is a big man, you can be sure of 3 probabilities. 1, the case will be turned against you. 2, the police officer that initially took interest in your matter will immediately become dumb and become looking unintelligent, making you look like a fool. In fact, asking yourself, what have I reported? As if there is no case. Thirdly, is the risk of your life. Because when you now insist, haven't seen what they're doing, the next level is you want to die. And before you know it, you're gone. So, if that is happening, without me saying a thing, you know that in a nation where the security of life is not guaranteed, that is the level you can imagine poverty has taken Nigeria to. Nigeria is a place that we have good people of heart, people that truly want to live uprightly. But I tell you, because of poverty in the land, and like I said earlier, men have sold their conscience to money. They know the truth, but they close their eyes to the truth. Because if they say the truth, they're either losing their jobs, they're either running out of favor, or not achieving what they set out to achieve. People are living in poverty because their soul is destitute of the truth. That is why there is so much poverty on earth. You understand? So because people are not living, their souls are poor. Their souls are not lifted. Nigeria is a place, what poverty has done to Nigeria, I'm telling you today, is a place where you hold your own money and you want to pay for a particular service of government. You cannot achieve it freely with your money. You must either look for somebody that you know by contact up there, or you must be willing to bribe. If you are not willing to bribe, then you can't have your way. For something that has a fixed price, a service that has a fixed price, and you want to pay, you will get frustrated. And you will see people that doesn't even have the documents, that doesn't have the basic requirements, come into various offices and achieve that which you, holding the authentic requirements, and you are there, frustrated. Nigeria is a place that poverty has eaten so deep that it doesn't matter whether you go to school, you're qualified, you are a graduate, you live uprightly, you have what it takes to get a good job and to live well. But because you are not willing to sell your conscience, you are not willing to kill somebody for some politician, you're not willing to lie, you're not willing to live by propaganda, then you remain there. That is how much poverty has destroyed Nigeria. And I tell you, I weep for my nation every day. Sometimes I see myself and tears will just be dropping my chest. Because you see the people going mad daily. You see young men dressed in suits and they are walking the street, they are talking to themselves, frustrated. Because they want to live uprightly and then they get frustrated. So the only way you can get in that system is either you are joining a cult or you want to commit a crime. There is a mark they're looking for. And you see the upcoming, the youth, the people in the society, even the adults, everybody parading themselves, wanting to catch the attention of that corrupt leader. You know, and by so doing, they have to do so many things that will spotlight them as the candidate to be used of the leaders to achieve their corrupt mind. That's another angle to it. Nigeria is a place where poverty has driven the faithfuls, the people that have golden hearts, that ordinarily they will not do evil, right? It has buried them alive and then has lifted criminals to positions of leadership. And when criminals are in office, what happens? They get the bulk of the largesse. They travel abroad on diplomatic passports. The masses are there at the Heathrow being humiliated on account of Nigeria is corrupted. And right there where you are, being humiliated, you see the thieves in government. You see the criminals in government coming with diplomatic passports and being treated as real people. Nigeria is, the state of poverty in Nigeria has turned good children to prostitutes. You can't get anything done. You can't be in school and a university student and get your courses, pass your courses. Why? Because the lecturer wants to sleep with you. You have to pay to pass your course with your body. And you don't want to do it. Read from here to eternity, you won't pass that course. That's the effect of poverty in my nation. The churches is a no-go area. I have a case at hand that my life is at stake as I speak. A young girl coming out of school, 16-year-old in the church, and the pastor invited her to see him, and the pastor drugged the girl, pretending to give her a drink, and she took the drink, she slept off, and the pastor raped her and took her virginity. This girl woke up to see her pastor's nakedness with a tissue in his hand, cleaning her up with the blood stain of her virginity. She could not take it. The pastor eventually cajoled her and warned her never to tell anybody, giving her 100 naira, 250 naira note. That was in 1997. This girl, as I speak, this girl walked the street for 12 years, mad. Because eventually, months after, it was discovered that she was pregnant. And all angles, you're pregnant, you're pregnant. She didn't know how she came about the pregnancy. Who made you pregnant? She didn't know. Because all she could remember was the nakedness of the pastor with the tissue in his hand. She didn't know what happened to her. And that led this girl to be maltreated, to be beaten, to be harassed. And each time she wanted to open her mouth and say who was responsible for that pregnancy, she will remember the curse the pastor laid that the day you tell anybody, you will go mad. And then she held it in her heart. Until when she could no longer take it, she now confined in another pastor in that church. That was the senior pastor that was responsible for my pregnancy. And then the girl, eventually, when this was exposed, they said the girl must have gone mad. Maybe she's losing her mind. How could a pastor that is so saintly, a pastor that is, controlling crowd, people are looking at him as holy, do such a thing? This girl must be out of her mind. The next thing, this girl was taken to hospital. Sneaked to the hospital, the pregnancy terminated at about 70-month-old pregnancy by the pastor. Meanwhile, selling the impression that the girl has lost her mind. And then the parents ignorantly took this girl to the doctors and they started treating her for mental illness, forcing her to take medication for what all she's been saying, it was my pastor. But nobody believed that because they considered the pastor too holy. This girl was being forced to take these medications. Eventually, this girl lives on the streets. The church is like a triangle. The church at one angle, the pastor's residence at the other angle, and the girl's residence across the road. So when they call for worship, the girl right on her bed, she would hear the pastor preaching holiness, righteousness, all the ness. And this girl would be on her bed going mad, knowing that this man defiled her. And nobody was believing her. Eventually, she couldn't take it. She left the house and she was living on the streets. And she was on the street for 12 years. Until somebody found out about our ministry of rehabilitating mentally ill people, out of interest, brought this girl to us without even telling me any story. But along the line, by the leading of the Spirit of God, somehow, by the grace of God, she confessed. She just told me like a pal. I said, oh, you always, because each time she sits, when she came to my house, after about a week or two, normally when you come close to us, after about a week or two, there must be a signal. There must be a kind of relief around you. But in her own case, I could not record anything. But I would see that she would withdraw herself and she would be talking to herself. And each time she's talking, my virginity. What would I say on my wedding day? Oh, my pastor, all those rubbish. At the end of the day, I now called this girl one day and God gave me grace. The word I spoke to her opened the door of her heart to know that somebody is finally listening to me. She opened up and she told me these stories. That was how I got to know. I believed her because I know my nation was corrupted and the Spirit of God led me to believe this girl. I went straight to that pastor. He denied it. I went to the church. There's a body they call Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria. That's a body that controls the Pentecostal churches. I said, this is my report of this girl and this pastor. And I believe this girl. You know what the church said to me? And it has been long, so you just forget about it. I said, if it were your daughter, they say, minus that, they can't even investigate the pastor because he's one of them. It will be an embarrassment on the body of Christ. I said, okay, does coming to Christ means you should be using the name of Jesus to defile people and destroy them? I left there, I went to the police. Eventually, by my personality and the cases I've been handling, the police gave ear to me. The case was investigated. The pastor confessed. Yes, before the girl and before his wife and before the police. Now that God has healed this girl, she's back in her right mind. She's doing very well. Now I'm hiding her everywhere because they are hunting to kill her for exposing the pastor and then for exposing the hypocrisy of the church. Now, many people will not go as far as I've gone. Not because they don't know that they can do it. They can. But they are afraid of their lives. Poverty has ruined our nation, our youth. In different phases. Poverty in Nigeria has ruined the nation Nigeria because even those that are still, the remnants that are still struggling to maintain, they are looking at it that I should budge. I should budge. Youths are daily looking for gangs to join, to become armed robbers, to become hired killers. They are willing because they must feed. Because food is no more a necessity. It's no more necessity. Food in Nigeria is luxury. So for you to feed, for you to live, they must commit that crime. That is how much corruption. Are you talking about the political class? Are you talking about the courts? Even the church cannot declare the truth. Because the church too wants to reign. The church wants to preach, in a government function and get brown envelopes. The ministers want to belong. They want to be special advisors to government. They want to have positions. In fact, right now, many pastors are struggling to become governors. There's nothing wrong in that, in religious leaders. But that's if they are pure. But many of them are going and aspiring because they want to make their own share too, not because they love a common man. People are there for themselves. So, the resources are directed and diverted toward self, family, friends, and associates. That is why you see all our airplanes are grounded. That is why you see many things are not working in the nation. The system of the world generally has broken down and has failed. The only thing that can work is the system of God. And the system of God is working in love with one another. And let there be a system whereby security is provided for a common man. There is no political institution that can replace the system of God. The system of God is love. It is of love. It runs in love, and it will achieve the purpose of God if dispensed in love. So the first thing to be done is for the world leaders to enter their entreaties and meetings with a heart of love. whoever that is part of it should come in with a heart of love. When you come in with the heart of love, those written bits and pieces can work and can be dispensed, disbursed, and programmed in love. And by so doing, the developing nations will be helped. Because people from the third world are looking for survivor. That is why they are all making their way into Europe, America, and just they must survive somehow. If the developing nations are helped, and if in truth the developed nations are not conniving, taking advantage of the stupidity of developing nations, work in love with them and see their needs, and then use their strength to ensure that the leadership of each nation they relate with are leadership that are in purpose, not leadership that are self-centered and selfish. If they can put a system in place that is backed up in love, that is instituted in love, it will go far. And this is the mind of God for the whole earth, that we should love one another. So if the global leaders can invest, in love and unity, in truth, I can assure you, most of these problems will be tackled and poverty will go down. As a Nigerian, I will be happy living in Nigeria. Come to think of it, a man that has 20, 30 cars in his house, how many will he ride in a year? Many of those cars, maybe 3 years, they are not touching it. So if we can begin to think of one another and know that instead of me wasting money in doing this and in doing this, let me go to a village and look for children I can help to send to school. Rather than me spending this money on this, on that. Good life is good, don't get me wrong. But there are many things we waste money and passion we crave for that are not important after all. So if those that are privileged could for 1 minute sit and think in their hearts, appreciate God for what and where he has brought them, how far they've gone, and then take out of what God has given them, beyond the government. No, I'm not even talking about government now. Individuals begin to think of one another. I'll tell you, it will go far in reducing poverty. And then a number of children that comes from poor homes that are ever willing to go into robbery, into stealing, into drugs, into prostitution, you see them, it will reduce because they will have the privilege of going to school. And then they can be assured that after school, I can get a job. It can be encouraging. And so on and so forth. What is happening in developing countries, like in Nigeria, again, is a matter of who you know. They want to handpick people and put them in positions. It is not a matter of who the people have voted for. It is who you know. And except that is tackled, I doubt if there can be any solution to that. Because an average man at the top has no business with the people at the bottom, at the grassroots. It's only during when they're campaigning that they just come and demonstrate, give small water, give small pure water, give some donation of 2 or 3 bags of rice, and after the elections, you don't see them again. So it has to start from the polity and the politics, the politicking. So if the electoral system can be defined, can be redefined and then followed in truth, you understand? And this again can be possible in the area of security. The problem with Nigeria, that is what I know, I always make that a reference, is security. If the security is guaranteed, people will keep their heads straight. And then if the leadership can break away from the clan that brought him there, yes, maybe from manipulations, anyhow he has gotten there. If you can now say, okay, now I'm the one there and I want poverty to end, to be reduced in my nation. This is what I want. This is what I want. And then he can stand tall and do away with the corrupt associates, corrupt ministers, corrupt assistants, corrupt people in power. Then the policies that it comes to, his policies will see the light of the day. because it will now be getting to the grassroots, and then people will begin to gain, to retrace their steps from evil, from seeking to do evil to desiring to do good, and then play the game of patience and waiting. But I tell you now, nobody wants to wait. Nobody wants to wait. The current leader should lead that country according to the order of God. Leadership is a position of privilege. A position of privilege that God has given for you to rule as a mini God, as God himself. So my first counsel to him is to see him as someone that has been given privilege to become a God. And as God, what do? God repairs. God restores. Let him, by the commandment, by the precepts of God, in love and in truth. On the coat of arms of Nigeria, or in our old national anthem, it says, Nigeria, we hail thee, our own, their native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. In brotherhood we stand. So as you would love your own people, your own children, your own brothers to be, let him consider an average man on the street of Nigeria, and then put up programs in place that would affect, directly touch the lives of a common Nigeria, number one. Number two is without fear or favor, because most of the people in power in my own country are ruled by, I don't want to say the kingdom of darkness, but there is a form of a clique, maybe cultism, that they take oaths before they get there. So when they get there, even if you have a righteous mind, you cannot perform, because you will be afraid of those that brought you there. Most of them getting there by manipulations. And when you are manipulated to a place, it is almost impossible for you to stand righteous. So if he will look away from how he got there, and then take authority as a leader and as a God, to change, with determination to change the face of things in Nigeria, without minding whose horn is broken, then he will be able to turn around by ensuring that the people that are qualified are the people that are given assignments, appointments, portfolios. By making sure that the electoral processes and every other thing goes according to the constitution of the nation Nigeria. And then try and win the love of the people, confidence of the people, so that they can be patient with him. Because when a house has been injured the way Nigeria has been injured, we don't expect overnight miracle. But when one can restore confidence, then people can wait and allow him time to adjust and achieve those things. And I can tell you, it will work for him.